Welcome into a Thursday edition of Orange and Blue Today. It's Cecil Lammy, it's Andrew Mason, it's canned rock music, and it's a deal that gets done between the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers for Micah Parsons. It's George Paton's comments, very brief comments, on that guy right there on your screen, one Nik Bonitto. So let me play our handy-dandy intro, Mace, and let's talk about the Parsons deal, mega deal, blockbuster deal, and what that means perhaps for Nik Bonitto.
I mean, Micah Parsons got what he was looking for. He just didn't get it from the team perhaps he was looking for. He's exchanging Dallas for Green Bay. You could argue that Micah Parsons is much closer to a Super Bowl now than he was before, because remember what Sean Payton said about clubs that could win a Super Bowl, and one of the things that you had to have was ownership. And you could say Dallas doesn't have the ownership with Jerry Jones, at least not anymore. Jerry Jones of the 1990s, yes. Jerry Jones of the 2020s, no. Does Green Bay have the ownership? Well, yes, because the ownership it's the publicly held team basically, and Green Bay management is known to stay out of the way, do the right things, and that's part of why they've been such a successful team low these many decades. So Micah Parsons is pretty happy. He's got $47 million a year to be reasons why to be happy.
Whew.
But what does that mean for Nik Bonitto right there? Well, let's actually start with George Paton, because he was asked about Micah Parsons and where things stood. Obviously, before the Parsons news hit this morning, or this afternoon, Paton had a conference call this morning in the wake of cut down day and establishing the practice squad. And he was asked specifically about whether the Micah Parsons contract, whenever it came down, would have any impact on Nik Bonitto's contract. And George Paton's answer was pretty compact and didn't really reveal all that much, but here's what George Paton had to say.
Yeah, John is a really good player.
Sorry, wrong clip. So here's the right clip.
And, as far as any other stuff, we're just going to, we've done a good job of keeping these things quiet and respectful. We're just going to keep it that way.
Yeah.
So short you couldn't even take a drink. That's how short that answer was. I talked about it earlier today on Dover and Cecil, but let's talk about it now because I kind of like that answer, Mace. It's short, it's to the point, and to me, I think that we're 24 hours or 7 days from this thing getting done. One of the two. I know that's a variance, but still, I think this deal is getting done.
It's getting done. I mean, I've said it before. When Nik Bonitto was asked about it, he did not sound like a man who was terribly concerned about whether it was going to get done or not. And now we have, based on last year, we have an established pattern of the Broncos getting the deals done that they want to get done. That these things these things fall into place and they get done. So they crossed Cortland Sutton off the list. They crossed Zach Allen off the list. Of course, they got the deals done last year with Quinn Miners, with Pat Surtain, with Jonathan Cooper, with Garrett Bowles. So their history is, and with this administration and this ownership, their history is they get things done. They take care of the players that need to have contracts done. Now, we're going to get more into that because there are more contracts expiring, and I think we're not going to see all of them get done in all likelihood, but I think you're going to see Nik Bonitto done very soon. The question is cost, and does the Micah Parsons contract, now that it settles in here, does it have any impact on the Nik Bonitto contract?
I would say, Mace, it has to, at least a little bit. I don't think it's a drastic difference. Parsons was, in my opinion, always going to get paid more than Nik Bonitto on an annual average basis and the contract and the guarantee basis. What it does is it just still moves up that premium, though. And even if the number goes from let's say 25 million a year for Nik Bonitto. Let's say it's now 27 or 28 million a year. And maybe it was that to begin with. I'm not sure. But whatever that number is, it is elevated, not as much as Parsons, but I believe this deal for Parsons does elevate Bonitto at least a little bit.
Well, let's start with the average per year of 47 million. Okay. Because the previous high on APY was 41 million for TJ Watt. So Parsons just took that APY figure up by 6 million a year. Yeah. Now, I mean, so you had TJ at 41 mil per year, Myles Garrett at 40 million per year, and then Danielle Hunter 35.6, Max Crosby 35.5, Nick Bosa 34. I mean, I thought basically Nik Bonitto's not in the TJ Watt Myles Garrett conversation, certainly not in the Micah Parsons conversation in terms of what the body of work is. The question is, okay, is he in the Crosby Bosa conversation, the Danielle Hunter conversation in terms of APY? Now, the guaranteed money is also in play here because the Micah Parsons guarantee is 120 fully guaranteed, 136 total guarantees. Highest paid non-QB in NFL history. Okay.
Right.
So the total guarantee on Parsons, 136. So if you're looking at other edges, Myles Garrett total guarantee 123.5, full guarantee 88.8. TJ Watt total guarantee 108, full guarantee 108. Nick Bosa total guarantee 122.5, full guarantee is 88. So those were your big three in terms of total and full guarantee. Now you've got Micah Parsons going in there. So I think the question is now, where does the guaranteed money stack up for Nik Bonitto? Is he looking for a full guarantee now that is in that top four? Does he want to get a fully guaranteed figure that is at least 88 million, that is in the Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Micah Parsons conversation? Or do the Broncos want a full guarantee that maybe is a bit lower than that? Because you get to the next tier of full guarantees, it's Brian Burns and Josh Hines-Allen. They are at 76 and 76.5 million, which I would argue is probably more along the lines of where Nik Bonitto is right now, having had really one terrific season. Another player, Max Crosby, he's got a high APY, 35.5, which is now fifth among edge rushers. Wow. His full guarantee is $62.5 million. So these are numbers to kind of to bear in mind when we're talking about Nik Bonitto. I mean, Micah Parsons certainly sets the market and maybe drives the price up a bit, but I think when you're talking about Nik Bonitto and kind of where he is comparably, he's still in the tier of these other edge rushers here. Now, this may again lead Nik Bonitto's side to say, okay, well, if the market has gone up a bit, then his price tag has gone up a bit, and then he moves up, and so we'll see. Because would the Brian Burns and Josh Hines-Allen contract, with their guarantees instead of being 76 million, with Micah Parsons going up, would their guarantees now be in that $88 million range I mentioned, where Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa are, right? Yeah. That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think we're in that ballpark between those two numbers of, let's just say 75 million to, let's just say 90 million, somewhere in there. I don't think it approaches 100 million guaranteed, but if we're between 75 and 90, it's not my money.
Yeah.
All right. 82, something like that. Get him in that range. And Nik Bonitto, just like we saw with Zach Allen, just like we saw with Cortland Sutton, he's not rocking the boat. He's not doing anything. He's not unfollowing the Broncos on Instagram or whatever. He's there. He's putting in the work. He's ready to go. He'll be ready for week one. He's a guy that you want to keep around and you want to pay. But that number's probably going to fall between that, 75 million, 85 million range.
And here's the thing, when you're talking about these guaranteed numbers, this is blowing any other guarantee out of the water for the Broncos. Think about that for a moment, because right now, the biggest total, and this is not full guarantee, this is total guarantee. So total is always higher than full, or full is always higher than or total is always higher than full. The highest total guarantee for the Broncos right now is Zach Allen at 44.25 that he just did, followed by Pat Surtain at 40.688, and then Court at 40. The numbers we are talking about, Nik Bonitto is probably going to shatter the Bronco record for total guaranteed money and full guarantee.
Yep.
I mean, this is going to be some. I think there's going to be some sticker shock here on what Nik Bonitto gets, especially you are talking about one season that he's had so far,
right?
And that does come into play. But but the way you have to think of it is, Edge is your defensive quarterback in terms of cost, in terms of value. That's just that is the reality of the situation in terms of where the salaries are going. Edge is your defensive QB in terms of the premium that you're paying. And right now, you could say in a year, Pat Surtain has become grossly underpaid.
Yes.
I mean, it's actually pretty remarkable to take a look at how the market has transformed at cornerback just in a year.
Things change quickly in the NFL, and now he's kind of a bargain.
And now, of course, the question, things change quickly. How did things change for Nik Bonitto's contract just in the last month?
Well, and I will say this, I felt pretty good about the deal getting done Friday, as in tomorrow. Maybe this Parsons deal delays that a little bit. Maybe they had anticipated it. And I don't think, I always ask the question, Mase, have we seen the best of blank?
Yeah.
Have we seen the best of Nik Bonitto? My answer is no. And I believe the Broncos, while there will be some sticker shock for folks out there, I don't believe it's a situation where they're overpaying for Bonitto. They'll pay him a fair compensation. It'll be a big one, but it's not going to be the Parsons level type of payday. Yeah.
Now to kind of clarify on the full guarantee, total guarantee. So Pat Surtain's full guarantee is 40.688, and his total guarantee is 77.5. So if you give Nik Bonitto an 88, it may be a situation where the total guarantee and the full guarantee for Nik Bonitto end up very similar. So it will be it might end up being comparable in guarantee, but you're probably still talking about the full guarantee being the full guarantee being higher than Surtain's, like significantly higher, but the total guarantee ending up being the same. Like when you're talking about like full guarantee and total guarantee, it's like it's one of those things, kind of like you're splitting hairs. You're splitting hairs a little bit, but it's kind of it's sort of in the language and the details, like in terms of if you get certain things, there are certain things that kind of kick in contractually and so forth. So.
Yeah, we'll see what the Broncos can do. We'll see how quickly this deal comes together. But week 1 is coming up, and Nik Bonitto is not the only contract situation that may be considered. Mace, honestly, I feel he's the one that gets done.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for John Franklin Myers, I don't believe he does get done with the Denver Broncos. He can be well paid, and I believe that may happen for him next year, but I do not believe it happens in the Mile High City.
Yeah, and this is an interesting thing because JFM's probably going to get a very good contract from somebody.
Right.
But it's a combination of not only the contracts the Broncos are giving out, but also what they have done personnel-wise as well. Drafting Savion Jones in particular and seeing the progress that he's made, that has an impact on JFM long term. The fact that they kept both Eni Awazarike and Jordan Jackson, they kept 7 defensive linemen, and there's a very good chance you may see 2 defensive linemen deactivated on most game days. But they kept 7 because that's just how good those players were up front. I mean, you could say if there's the whole thing of the best 53 versus the right 53. Well, you could say that all 7 defensive linemen may well have been among the best 44 on the roster. That's how good they were. George Paton did talk about JFM today, and here's what he had to say. And he even talked about some of the other guys with expiring contracts, like Luke Wattenberg, he specifically mentioned. Here's George Paton about that.
Yeah, John is a really good player. Man, big bonus. We were able to get John last year, and like a number of other of our players in the final year of their deals, we'd like to have them all back. And John's no different. We have a number of players, and it's a puzzle. It's kind of like your roster management, like the 53-man. And so we're working through a lot of that now, but we're excited to have John Franklin. We're excited to have Wattenberg and a lot of these guys in the last years of their deals. So
it's a puzzle, and
that's your word. He stole your word.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a puzzle. And a few minutes earlier, I had asked George about his mid-round pick specifically. So I asked about Pat, Savion, and Q Robinson, and he talked about Savion's progress as an interior rusher and how he'd grown during preseason. Of course, you could kind of see that progress in the games, even if you just watch the games, but it was there in training camp and practices as well. And I mean, really, the shame of it for the Broncos defensive linemen is there's just not going to be enough snaps for everybody who deserves to play. I mean, Savion Jones is good enough to be getting game time reps. I just don't know that he's going to be getting them because Jordan Jackson didn't do anything to lose them. I mean, ditto Eni Awazarike, but if I were kind of making a prediction right now, my prediction would be that the defensive line, the 5 guys who are active, probably is the same as the 5 guys who were active last year. So that would mean Jordan Jackson's number 5, and then Awazarike and Jones would be in sweats, except for the games that you're facing kind of run-heavy teams, which means you might go 6 in week 1 if you're thinking that the Titans are going to want to protect Cam Ward a little bit. And so you might see 6 in week 1. You might see 6, against a team like Philly with Saquon Barkley, for example,
sure.
Team that go with their tush push and short yardage, that kind of thing. So you may see 6 some weeks. You may see 5 most weeks probably. But I think it says a lot, and that was kind of an overall kind of quality of player, and I think also maybe even something where you keep 7, and if a team comes calling on, for a trade perhaps, maybe you listen because those guys are going to have value. But I think JFM, if he has another good season, if his pressure numbers are similar to what they were last year, then JFM might get a nice contract from somebody. I'd say you might be talking about 2 years, $32 million from someone. And at that point, you probably have to say, hey, we're really happy for you. We appreciate what you've done, but probably not fitting budget-wise into what the Broncos are trying to cram in under their cap. It may be that it is what it is. And this is what's probably going to start happening a little bit in the future, is that you may see some decisions like this, and this is where you got to start hitting on your draft picks, because and especially if Bo Nix does hit as a quarterback, Cease, you are going to have to make down the line decisions like this, and you're going to have to hit on your draft picks to be able to fill in your roster.
Yeah, you're going to have to concern yourself with that in the future. And Mase, there also is a possibility if JFM begins this season as we anticipate he will, you get to the trade deadline, maybe somebody sends you something. I mean, there are offers you can't refuse. We just saw Micah Parsons dealt for a mega deal. Actually, I think the Parsons deal is a win-win. So I'm not predicting that JFM would get traded at the trade deadline, but this team is in position where they can look across the league and maybe someone offers them something. Maybe they like something. They've got a surplus here, especially on the defensive line.
Yeah, it's a win-win for Dallas, even though it certainly hurts them this year, because I think for them, it's a realistic assessment of where they are. They almost certainly were a third place team this year. I mean, I think they were a third place team before. I think they're a third place team now. And so really what changed today for them? Now you can really have a bit more in terms of draft assets, and you did get a player back. I mean, it's not like, you got somebody you can put out there, right? I mean,
it's starting defensive tackle.
That's what I mean. It's not you got somebody who can help you right away, not exactly chopped liver. So I mean, so you got someone who can plug into your interior rush right now, and you got draft capital. I mean, for Green Bay, that's a team that's kind of going for it, right? That's a team that's going for it right now. That I think looked at what they were in that loss to the Eagles in the playoffs and like, okay, what are we missing here? So
right,
and for all the Packers teams that have launched into the playoffs in the last 15 years since they won the Super Bowl, I think they're very sick of getting into January and melting down. I think that there is some I wouldn't say desperation, but I think there's some collected frustration over the last decade and a half that is poured into the decision that the Packers made today. That all right,
very non-Packers like decision.
We've got to do something here to push this thing over the top because we're sick of losing in the wild card and divisional round here. How do we get this thing back over the hump? Because I think rightfully so, they feel like they should have had at least one more ring since they beat the Steelers back in Super Bowl 45.
Years ago.
Yeah, I mean it's been it's a long time, and yet how many bad years have they had since then? Like they've had maybe one or two mediocre years, and then one, bad season where they fired Mike McCarthy, and like every other year they've been in contention. Like,
right.
I from their perspective, I get it. Like they had, at some point you just have to kind of, flip over the table and try something different. So and hey, they got the deal done. I mean, Parsons is going to be there for the next 4 years. So hey, they had the wherewithal to do it. So good for them. And they had, and as we see from their annual their annual financial statements, because being a publicly held team, they put out their statements every year, which is always fascinating because it's a window into what the league-wide revenues to every team are. They've got cash reserves, and so it's very easy for them to write that big fat guaranteed check to put into escrow. So anyway,
and we got Packers Broncos later this year. So the Broncos, as long as everybody stays healthy, will be facing Micah Parsons.
Yep. All right. Let's hear from our sponsor, our friends over at Ramos Law. Oops, wrong thing.
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
I'm 1 for 3 on clicking on things today, by the way. Not good. I mean, that's a good batting average. It's 333, but it's not good on this thing. So
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Let's give him a Marvin Mims update, kind of.
Yeah.
Because Sean Payton did talk about Marvin Mims. I was a little nervous with what he said. I'm a little nervous anyway because Mims is a speed guy, and any sort of hamstring or groin issue can linger. It can pop back up. It can turn into something else. Like, I want them to be very careful with Marvin Mims. And, well, Peyton gave us a little bit of an update.
Yeah, said he'll be back at practice. He will be back at practice. And the way he categorized it was, quote, good news, unquote. So there's that. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think what's been interesting, if you go by the trends of training camp, in terms of Sean Payton saying a player is going to be back, it's usually taken a little bit longer than when he said, so he tends to be optimistic, I think. Maybe trying to kind of will it into existence a little bit, but
Right.
There's no reason not to be cautious. They've got a practice on Monday. He calls it a bonus practice. But that's the thing. Labor Day in the NFL is a work day, so everybody's out there practicing on Monday, and then they have their regular Tuesday off day, and then they have their normal work week after that, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of game prep. So I think the concern would be if you don't see him out there next Wednesday. I think that would be where you start saying, okay, this might be something where it's a little bit of a problem. If you see him back out there by Wednesday, then I think everything's in good shape with Marvin Mims Jr. But there's no reason to avoid extreme caution right now. I think on a day like today, when you're just kind of going through an extra practice, and then you've got 3 days of rest beyond this over the weekend, just kind of take it easy and be extra cautious. Don't let this thing become worse. And quite frankly, Cease, anything to keep this thing from lingering is wise. I mean, I would sacrifice one game to have him be healthy for the following 16.
Sure.
With groins and hamstrings, for speed guys especially, but for any player, you really don't want to mess with those. So
yeah, especially an all-pro return man. I mean, we're excited about what Marvin Mims can do offensively, but you miss him on special teams a lot if he has to miss an extended amount of time.
And your reserve returner that maybe you'd planned on having on the practice squad is now on the Seattle Seahawks practice squad. So
right.
I mean, I suppose if you really wanted him, you could try to pluck him back onto the 53. You could say, "Oh, well," but then you'd have to waive somebody from your 53. So we'll see. You could play that game a little bit. So anyway,
yeah, we'll watch. And what's most likely to happen is Mims will be limited on Wednesday, and then you're hoping for a full participation on Friday. We're back to the old routine. How many seasons of covering the NFL is this for you, Mase? It's 23 for me.
24.
Yeah.
Kind of know how these things work. You know,
right. Let me know Friday.
Limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday, full on Friday. And when you see that typically means they play on Sunday. So
yeah.
And then I've probably written the story hundreds of times. Marvin Mims, insert player's name here, was limited on Wednesday as the Broncos began their preparations for insert team here. Blah 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 blah. And I mean, I could write the thing in my sleep.
Oh yeah.
I'll sit there. I'll literally what will happen, and the way the Broncos do it is, we'll see the beginning of practice, so we'll see kind of the player out there, and then I'll kind of have an anticipation of what the injury report will be. And so I'll write it, but I can't put it up until the end of practice. So I'll have it written and I'll put it in the back end, and someone else on our staff will actually publish the story and put it out on social and all that. So I write it in the media room at Broncos HQ, and then one of the other people on our staff will actually put it up while we're doing our locker room and stuff like that.
We'll be in the locker room, yeah.
Yes. So yeah. First open locker room session is next Wednesday. Are you ready?
I am ready for that.
Ready for it? Yeah.
Ready for us to make our rounds.
Yeah. Time to get back in the swing of things, my friend. Back in the routine, back in the habit. Let's do it.
Saddle up, partner.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, Mase, we are having fun here on our YouTube channel in Orange and Blue today, growing by leaps and bounds. The response from Broncos country has been huge. And we just appreciate you all so very much for spreading the word, telling a friend, hey, I got this podcast, these OBT guys. We got an audio version when I remember to post it. We got audio version of our podcast that is up every day. Every day it's up there, hopefully. So we'll get you that there as well. However you enjoy your podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. I'm an Apple Music guy. I don't even have an iPhone. I'm an Apple Music guy. You're Spotify guy, I think.
Yeah, I'm more Spotify than Apple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apple allows you to transfer all your playlists over now.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Cool beans.
Just saying. All right. He's Cool Beans. He's Andrew Mason. I'm Cecil Lammy. But how do folks help us out here on YouTube, Mace?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you never miss a vid. That's right. He's Mace. I'm Cease. Frosty and Saucy is what they call us. OBT is ABFD. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, and would you always stay frosty?